Hello, America! JOC here with your Ranting Politics headline updates, where we are diving into today's most explosive political stories that you need to know about. Coming up, congressional Democrats are desperately trying to get into El Salvador's notorious Seacott prison, where the Trump administration has been sending deportees. They want official delegation status, but they're hitting a Republican roadblock. We'll break down why this welfare check has turned into a political chess match. Then, a truly disturbing story out of Wisconsin. A 17-year-old is charged with murdering his parents, but federal documents reveal it might have been part of a larger neo-Nazi plot to assassinate President Trump. The details from this unsealed warrant will leave you shocked. In economic news, Nvidia is making it rain with a massive $500 billion investment to build AI supercomputers right here in the USA. Trump is celebrating the win by promising expedited permits as part of his Golden Age of America push. And finally, China just played a serious card in the ongoing trade war by suspending exports of rare earth metals critical for everything from your iPhone to our fighter jets. This move could kneecap U.S. industries that rely on Beijing's near monopoly of these essential materials. Stick around for all this and more in your daily dose of unfiltered news and common sense commentary. This is Ranting Politics Headline Updates. House Democrats are making a bold move that's got people talking, pushing for an official congressional delegation to visit El Salvador's notorious Seacott prison facility. Representatives Robert Garcia and Maxwell Frost fired off a letter to House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer requesting authorization for this trip. And folks, this isn't just political theater. The Democrats are zeroing in on the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident who's being held at this El Salvadorian prison despite the Supreme Court explicitly ordering his return to the United States. Talk about an international standoff. President Nayib Bukele and the Trump administration have flat out refused to send him back, creating a diplomatic mess that's heating up by the day. Here's where it gets interesting. Dozens of House Democrats are reportedly chomping at the bit to join this delegation. But there's a catch. They need official CODL status, which only comes with Republican approval. Without it, they lose crucial oversight powers and security resources that would make the trip actually meaningful rather than just a photo op. Meanwhile, the Senate is already making moves. Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland isn't waiting around. He's wheels up to El Salvador tomorrow morning, hoping to meet with Garcia himself. Senator Cory Booker is also working on organizing his own trip to the facility. According to sources speaking with Axios, there's considerable eagerness among Democrats in both chambers to make this happen. One senior House Democrat called the situation surreal and Orwellian and said many lawmakers want to shine a bright light on it to expose whatever the hell this thing is. But without that crucial CODL designation from Chairman Comer, these House Democrats might find themselves stuck playing political tourist rather than conducting actual oversight. So far, Comer's office hasn't responded to requests for comment on whether he'll greenlight the trip. The political stakes couldn't be higher as the Trump administration's deportation policies face increasing scrutiny, with Seacott becoming a flashpoint in the debate. This prison, officially known as the Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo, has been criticized by human rights organizations, but President Bukele has showcased it as a cornerstone of his tough-on-crime approach that's dramatically reduced gang violence in El Salvador. In a truly disturbing case out of Wisconsin, a 17-year-old named Nikita Kassap stands accused of murdering his parents as part of what federal authorities describe as a broader neo-Nazi plot to assassinate President Donald Trump. This isn't just another tragic family crime. It's potentially a thwarted domestic terrorism case with shocking implications. According to recently unsealed federal court documents, Kassap allegedly shot and killed his mother, Tatiana Kassap, and his stepfather, Donald Mayer, in their home outside Milwaukee back in February. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. He reportedly lived with their decomposing bodies for weeks before fleeing with $14,000 cash, passports, and even the family dog. The teenager was only caught after running a stop sign in Kansas while driving his stepfather's vehicle. When authorities executed a search warrant, they discovered much more than evidence of patricide. The FBI affidavit reveals Kassab had written a 3-page manifesto calling for the president's assassination to spark a political revolution and save the white race. Investigators found materials on Kassab's phone linking him to a neo-Nazi group called the Order of Nine Angles. In one chilling excerpt from his manifesto, he wrote, "As to why, specifically Trump, I think it's pretty obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos." The FBI alleges Kassab actually purchased a drone and explosives to carry out an attack. They found photos of his stepfather's credit cards and bank account information on his phone, suggesting the murders were calculated to provide him with the financial means and autonomy necessary to carrying out his plan. Perhaps most alarming, Kassab allegedly told a classmate he was in contact with someone in Russia regarding the assassination plot. Messages recovered from his devices indicate he planned to flee to Ukraine, even asking in one Telegram message, "So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to live a normal life, even when it's found out I did it?" Federal authorities have now accused Kassab of conspiracy, presidential assassination, and use of weapons of mass destruction. He remains in custody at the Waukesha County Jail on a $1 million bond with an arraignment scheduled for May 7th. This case represents the intersection of several disturbing trends: online radicalization, neo-Nazi ideology targeting vulnerable youth, and the potential for lone wolf attacks inspired by extremist manifestos. It also highlights the crucial work of law enforcement in preventing what could have been a catastrophic act of domestic terrorism before it moved beyond the planning stages. Talk about a massive economic win for American manufacturing. Nvidia, the tech powerhouse behind artificial intelligence chips, just announced a staggering $500 billion investment to build AI supercomputers on U.S. soil for the first time ever. President Trump immediately pledged his administration's full support, promising that all necessary permits will be expedited and quickly delivered to Nvidia, a commitment he extended to all companies committing to be part of the golden age of America. This investment represents a significant validation of Trump's push for major manufacturers to shift production to the United States. The administration has been using tariff policies to incentivize companies to build domestically, though those policies have faced market pressure recently. In fact, fears of a potential trade war-induced recession prompted Trump to pause his additional reciprocal tariffs for 90 days to allow for trade talks. Nvidia's plan is absolutely massive in scope. They've commissioned over 1 million square feet of manufacturing space spread across 2 states, Arizona for their specialized Blackwell chips and Texas for their AI supercomputers. The company has already begun Blackwell production at Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation's chip plants in Phoenix, while their supercomputer manufacturing will happen at Foxconn in Houston and Wistron in Dallas. Nvidia founder Jensen Huang emphasized the strategic importance of this move, saying, "The engines of the world's AI infrastructure are being built in the United States for the first time. Adding American manufacturing helps us better meet the incredible and growing demand for AI chips and supercomputers, strengthens our supply chain, and boosts our resiliency." These AI supercomputers aren't just any technology. They're essentially the engines for AI factories, which Nvidia describes as a new type of data center created for the sole purpose of processing artificial intelligence. The company projects this manufacturing shift will create hundreds of thousands of jobs and drive trillions in economic growth over the coming decades. Mass production is expected to ramp up within the next 12 to 15 months. Nvidia is also partnering with Amkor and Taiwan's SPIL for packaging and testing operations in Arizona, creating a more complete manufacturing ecosystem on American soil. This announcement follows another massive AI infrastructure partnership announced earlier this year between OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. That venture, called Stargate, is tasked with building out data centers and electricity generation needed for AI development in Texas, starting with a $100 billion investment that could eventually reach $500 billion. The timing is particularly noteworthy as it comes while the Trump administration is developing a new approach to semiconductor industry tariffs. Electronics like smartphones and laptops currently have temporary exemptions, but analysts have warned that broad tariffs on tech products could lead to significant price increases for consumers. An iPhone potentially costing $250 more, for example. For Trump, Nvidia's announcement represents exactly the kind of economic victory he's been pushing for. Major global companies investing billions in American manufacturing, creating jobs, and strengthening strategic industries like artificial intelligence, where the U.S. is competing fiercely with China for global leadership. In a major escalation of trade tensions, China has completely halted exports of 7 heavy rare earth metals and magnets critical to U.S. manufacturing across multiple industries. This suspension, which took effect April 3rd, isn't just aimed at the United States but applies globally. Yet American industries are particularly vulnerable to the disruption. We're not talking about obscure materials here. These rare earth elements are essential components in everything you use daily, from the smartphone in your pocket to the electric vehicle you might be driving. More critically, they're vital for military aircraft and defense systems that protect our nation. As Drew Horn, who served as the top U.S. official on strategic minerals during Trump's first administration, put it bluntly, rare earths are in everything. He specifically highlighted the EV and auto space, everything from cell phones, defense key components, and space travel, adding that China has essentially created an all-powerful monopoly with them. What makes this move particularly concerning is that China processes about 90% of the world's supply of these heavy rare earth magnets. It's not just about mining the raw materials. Even if other countries extract the elements, they typically send them to China for processing. This gives Beijing extraordinary leverage in any trade dispute. This isn't the first time China has threatened to weaponize its rare earth dominance. Similar threats emerged during Trump's first term, with President Xi Jinping making a highly publicized visit to a magnet factory in 2019 during trade tensions. Back in 2010, China actually did suspend rare earth exports to Japan during a territorial dispute. However, Craig Singleton from the Foundation for Defense of Democracy suggests Beijing may be overplaying its hand. The U.S. response this time is less panic, more resolve. Washington sees these latest moves as further justification to fast-track domestic production and friend-shoring strategies. The Trump administration appears well aware of this vulnerability. Insider reports suggest the president's interest in both a mineral deal with Ukraine and a potential partnership with resource-rich Greenland have been motivated by reducing America's dangerous over-reliance on China for these critical manufacturing components. The challenge isn't just finding alternative sources for raw materials. Even if the U.S. secured its own rare earth supplies, experts say it would take years to build the facilities needed to process these elements. Horn explained the difficulty. In a lot of ways, the midstream processing is the most difficult to do, because China owns all of it or controls all of it. So even if you dig it up, you have to ship to Chinese refineries exclusively. Despite these hurdles, Horn believes processing facilities could be operational before 2026 with immediate action, though he cautions this would require significant government support through incentives, protective measures, and loan guarantees to shield American companies from Chinese retaliation. The stakes couldn't be higher. Without these critical materials, entire manufacturing sectors could grind to a halt, threatening both economic security and national defense. The rare earth standoff represents yet another flashpoint in the increasingly complex economic relationship between the world's two largest economies. Well, folks, that wraps up today's whirlwind tour through the political landscape, and what a ride it's been. From congressional Democrats trying to get eyes on that controversial Seacott prison in El Salvador, to the chilling case of a Wisconsin teen allegedly murdering his parents as part of a larger plot to assassinate President Trump. Disturbing stuff that reminds us how political extremism can manifest in truly dangerous ways. On the economic front, we've got Nvidia dropping a cool $500 billion to manufacture AI supercomputers right here in the USA, with Trump promising to fast-track those permits faster than a New York minute. It's a massive win for domestic tech manufacturing, though time will tell how it plays against the backdrop of ongoing trade tensions. And speaking of those tensions, China's decision to cut off rare earth exports is no small matter. It's a stark reminder of just how vulnerable our supply chains remain, and why reshoring critical industries isn't just political talk. It's increasingly a matter of national security. What connects these stories? America's changing position in a rapidly evolving global landscape. Whether it's immigration policy, domestic extremism, technological competition, or resource security, we're witnessing real-time adjustments to how the U.S. operates both at home and abroad. If you're enjoying our no-nonsense approach to the day's events, make sure to follow us on X at RantingRP. You can also catch us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. And for exclusive content and our full archive, head over to rantingpolitics.com. This is JOC signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics headline updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.